Hi, I'm Paula Flo, Executive Director of the Hitting Stops Here, which is a campaign to bring pupil beatings to an end in our schools. I would like to demonstrate with some of the pictures that I have here today and sort of do a talking story. This is Carolyn McCarthy. Carolyn McCarthy introduced the U.S. federal bill to ban school abuse of our students, and she introduced the bill 3 times before she left Congress. And the name of the bill is Ending Corporal Punishment in Schools Act, and currently the bill number is 160. It was originally 2268, but here it is, 5628. And since the 4th time that it's been introduced was by this gentleman, our Congressman Alcee Hastings from Florida. He is an amazing man, an amazing leader. He's trying to bring pupil beatings to an end. For example, this is a boy who's in the 5th grade, special ed student, was playing a game with a little boy, a friend of his. The little boy lost and started crying, and the teacher took the boy and beat him because the little boy cried because he had lost the game. These are the types of silly reasons that our children are being beaten with a wooden board like this. In case you don't know, this is the new State Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos. She's been in a little bit of hot water recently regarding segregation in our schools and that sort of thing. You can look that up on Google. This is a dear friend, Tom Johnson, who campaigned in Texas. We're in front of the Texas State Capitol, and he's talking about the wooden board. And President Obama is in office at the time of this photo. There's a little bit that you can see of a dear friend of mine, Julie Worley. She's an amazing woman who is also fighting this. Her children attend school in Tennessee, and they've had to witness pupil beatings. If you take a look here at this young lady, this is a young lady who missed out on her prom, her high school prom, because her principal said that she could attend her prom if she would allow him to beat her because he said her dress was too short. So because he threatened her, she said, "I'm going home." So this beautiful young lady ended up going home because her principal felt that she should be beaten or she should go home. This is an article about our children and the problem of harmful seclusions and restraints being used on them. A teacher killed a student. If you go to my website, you'll see where it says GAO Report 2014, and you'll learn how a teacher murdered a 14-year-old boy because she said he would not stay in his seat. So this is another type of abuse our children are facing. So here is Betsy DeVos, and again, she is our new leader under President Trump, and she has not banned this practice yet. It goes as far back as slavery. Here's a slave woman, and everybody that you see in here represents us. We are either a victim, we are either the person beating, or we are the people who know this is going on, but stand back and do nothing at all to stop it. So this is the entire world right here before you in this picture alone. Here's the cover page of the federal bill, Ending Corporal Punishment in Schools Act. And I brought my calendar to show everybody that I am keeping track. We have already, I announced, I believe it was June 2nd, June 2nd, we had 214 days before this bill itself expires. Now today is the 23rd. We've already dipped into the 100s. And if the bill fails, it will be for a 6th time. There it is. We send the wrong message when we allow our government to use a wooden board, an instrument already deemed a deadly weapon by the U.S. Supreme Court Justice, if we think we're going to clean up CPS before we get this out of our schools. If we think we're going to clean up the vaccination, the over-vaccination treatment of our children before we get this out of our schools, it's not going to happen. If we think that we're going to get rid of our foster care, going crazy over making money for every child they snatch away from their parents, before we get this wooden board out of our schools, we are outside of understanding what the point A is of the abuse our children are facing in our schools. Right over here, if you take a look, you will see this message about Juneteenth. I'm going to read that to you. It says, on June 19, 1865, Union Major General Gordon Granger issued this military order in Galveston, Texas, freeing slaves. General Orders Number 3. The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. Now let me point out something to you. Abraham Lincoln worked with a gentleman named Marcus Lawrence Ward, and he served from the state of New Jersey. New Jersey was the first state to ban the practice of pupil beatings because Marcus Lawrence Ward was the governor at that time and said that, how can I sign an Emancipation Proclamation and leave this in our schools when this is why about slavery? This is the beginning of slavery. I can say, if you don't listen, this is what you're going to get. That is what a slave is. They would not be able to go to a police officer or court of law for any justice. So right here, Juneteenth, way back when Abraham Lincoln signed this bill to free the slaves, it meant get rid of the wooden board because, as Marcus Lawrence Ward said, it is why slavery even can exist. And New Jersey banned this practice at the time of this proclamation for freedom. I'd like you to take a look over here. This is at the very bottom of the website, thehittingstopshere.com. And if you notice, you're going to see these are the primary states where children are being beaten. These are the primary slave states. And if you look here, it was almost kind of funny. These are two black men, principal and a student, pictured as they're about to spank a white girl. And it amazes me that people have written me and said, I can't believe you put a picture of a student being beaten by their principal on your website. They felt that it was inappropriate because they're assuming this is a child. I would like everybody to know that, first of all, this would never happen in America. We don't have black male teachers spanking a single white girl. Pupil beatings would be over if that were going on. That is the one combination that does not exist in this country. It has, I have heard of maybe one or two women of the baby boomer generation who mentioned that they were beaten by black male teachers. But today that is not happening. And if it is, I hope somebody will contact me and let me know where, because I would not put a picture of a real student in elementary school or high school. However, because this never happens, it would draw the type of attention that would matter. For example, if this were a black girl and that were a white man, no one would pay attention. But because it's a black man beating a white girl, I have received responses. This is a drawing done by the former child advocate Jordan Ryak, and it says, it's time to toss the trash. Let's take a look over here at this table. Oh, I wanted to show this too. The other thing is disproportionately, these beatings are disproportionately directed at children of color. You have this little white boy here, and he feels like he's in the home of the free. This kid over here, he has to be in the land of the brave to make it. He's been being beaten in his school since preschool. His mom said he used to come home with knots on his head from the teacher banging his head on the desk in preschool. And when I interviewed him, he said, I wish they would stop hitting me. And you can see that video on my YouTube page. If you go to our website, thehittingstopshere.com, click in the right column, in the left column, you'll see our YouTube channel. Click there and then search for this title, I wish they would stop hitting me. Let's move over here and take a look at some of these issues that are going on. For example, over in Gaza, preschoolers that you see in this picture may not be very clear, but there are little children in preschool, not even kindergarten, who are pretending to be soldiers who are killing the enemy. And you'll see the little image of a little child playing dead while they're going in there to, finish off a few other human beings. And these little 3-year-olds are just about 3 years older than this little child right here. This child is already being threatened because of this type of thing going on. And Americans will never be able to intercept this type of problem as long as we over here in our country are allowing teachers to use what is already written inside of our U.S. Constitution as a deadly weapon. Why do we allow it? There is another issue that's very important. Very recently, in all 50 states now, animal cruelty is treated as a felony. Well, last I checked, the word animal includes the human beings at the very top. Some people say, I'm not an animal. Well, animal comes from the Latin word animus, which means breathing, to breathe. So it's just distinguishing animals from plants. There are animals and plants only. So that means this little cute baby here is an animal at the top of the animal kingdom. However, the only animals this applies to are those who are less than human beings. Okay, so animals, your dog, your cat, your cow, your pig, they have more rights to protection. Somebody took this same wooden board and hit a pig, they would go to jail. You hit a little child and it's okay. This boy here, this is a dear friend of mine. His name is Emmanuel Speed, and his mother is Takeda Riley, and she is still without the reunion of her children. Emmanuel is in the state of Arkansas. I have his the address where he is staying, the school where he attends, and help can be brought forth to help this boy. And it's going to take people wanting to step out of the comfort zone and saying, what can I do to help? This is an issue that is exploding all over the U.S. Child sex trafficking in the USA is exploding, and the government admits that they are not stopping it. Now, I want you to take a look at this hero over here. This is Justin, I hope I say his last name properly, Bieber, Justin Bieber. Got a little help with that one. And he is, in my opinion, a hero because he's been willing to speak out on the issue of child protective services and the type of sexual misconduct conduct occurring in the Hollywood scene, children being forced to have sex and being told not to speak up, and all of that sort of thing is going on in our entertainment industry, and Justin Bieber is willing to speak out, and we could learn a lot from him. Forgot to point to this young man. This is a friend of mine who I met in Arizona when I campaigned there in 2013. He's 18 years old, and he had just reached his birthday, was put out of the household where he was tortured his entire childhood, and he was given a black bag with all of his belongings and said, hit the road. And he's been out on the streets of Arizona and trying to piece back create a life for himself, because he's been in a foster home all his life. And while in Arizona during the years 2013 and 14, where we campaigned, all the stories were horror stories regarding our children who are taken captive into the Child Protective Services. And we need your help. Please take a look at what the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution says. It says, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed upon. A free people ought not only be armed and disciplined. I'm sorry. I'm going to hold it up. But they should have sufficient arms and ammunition to maintain a status of independence from any who might attempt to abuse them, which would include their own government. That's by George Washington. Now, in this case, we're talking about a deadly weapon again. We're talking about a gun in this case. And right now, our government wants to have us stripped of our guns. Our government wants to have our children taken from their parents. Our U.S. Constitution is perfect. It protects our families. It allows us to carry guns. It allows us to do these things in ways where we are not hurting people just for fun or money or for any reason but to protect ourselves or to keep our children. If there's a problem with a child being raised in a home, there are plenty of parent training workshops. If a parent is unwilling, then you go to the next step, but you try to keep them with their family, an auntie, a cousin, an uncle, a sister-in-law, a brother. That's what's missing here in America, the U.S. Constitution. I would like to read a few words from our leaders, the greatest leaders that we've ever had. And here's Martin Luther King. He said, "He who passively accepts evil is as much involved in it as he who has helped to perpetrate it. He who accepts evil without protesting against it is really cooperating with it." That's our beloved Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's words. Let's see what Ben Franklin has to say. "Any society that will give up a little liberty to gain a little security will deserve neither and lose both." We're on the brink of all of these things, my fellow Americans. This is one that I love by Patrick Henry. He's defending the Constitution and urging us to keep hold of it. And we still have it. Then when you're arrested, they do talk about the U.S. Constitution still. And so we still have it and we need to keep it. It's what Patrick Henry said was the Constitution is not a document for the government to restrain the people. It is an instrument for the people to restrain the government. And it's time for us to do that. These types of sayings have been said all over the world. This is Vasil Havel, and he is from the European nation. He said, "Human rights are universal and indivisible. Human freedom is also indivisible. If it is denied to anyone in the world, it is therefore denied indirectly to all people. This is why we cannot remain silent in the face of evil or violence. Silence merely encourages them." These are things we must think about. Here's our Constitution. I keep my Constitution with myself all the time. I've given a copy of it to my daughter, and I bet if I were to ask her right now to say the 14th Amendment, the 5th, or the 8th, she would be able to, because I make sure she knows her rights. And everybody should have one of these, and every child should have one, even inside of their backpack. This one is by Thomas Jefferson. "The greatest danger to American freedom is a government that ignores the Constitution." Thomas Jefferson. These are our founding fathers speaking way back in the 17 and 1800s, trying to warn us, those of us living today in the year 2018. These are the things they were saying. Hey, we hooked you up. We have you covered on every front. The U.S. Constitution is the most well-crafted constitution of any nation. And I honestly believe it was written by the perfect hand of God through the imperfect hands of man. And if we lose this, we become a third world country. We are rapidly approaching that status as it is right now. And I am urging everybody who is listening. I've been campaigning now since 2006. This is going to be the 12th year that I am fighting desperately to have that first move, that appropriately first law put in place to stop the beatings in school. We have children having broken tailbones. Our children are beaten at a rate of every 20 seconds and every 4 minutes to the point of needing medical attention. And this is verifiable. These are things that I'm learning and finding online, and they are valid resources. So I'm urging everybody who may doubt me to go ahead and just get on board with us. We need your help. And this is a message we have to our U.S. leaders. God will not be mocked. So know that. God will not be mocked. And there are a lot of people who love God and are calling on him. And I believe we will win. It is a tough battle. It is all uphill, but I find it hard to believe that all Americans are going to lay down, be silent, and do nothing to stop the travesty that is impacting our children first. And what's sad is that it appears that not having children is more of a fad than having a family. Having a family used to be one of the most wonderful things a man and woman would think of doing: get married, have children, raise a family. That's what America used to be all about, and it can still be about that. But this is glorifying breaking down America, because America is about families. And let's see if there are any others that I want to go over. Oh, yes. I want to mention also that between July 4th and September 11th, I will be holding a series of events that will be outdoors. And I am also in the process of finishing up a book that I am writing. It's entitled God Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And I would like for you to just take a look. And by September 11th, this book should be ready to be mailed out or purchased at a store. And you'll learn more, not only about the horrible things going on that our children are facing at the hands of U.S. government-funded employees, but you're going to also learn what you can do to help bring this to an end. Again, I will be out again in the public this 4th of July, 2018, talking about these things. If you would like to learn how to receive a free copy of this book that will be available beginning September 11th, again, you could contact me at SafeChildEnvironmentS@gmail.com. And environments is plural. You can also contact us beginning July 4th. We're going to have regular info greetings, I should say. If you call 800-515-9216, you will be able to hear what's coming up. You will be able to learn what you could do to help, and you will be able to stay abreast of how to help our future be bright here in America. I want to thank you for listening, and I want to reach out to my fellow Americans with all my heart, soul, mind, and strength, and say, please, give me a call, send me an email, let me know you want to help. Let's bring this to an end, beginning with the wooden board. It's all going to stay here. That is the litmus test that our government looks at. If we are not going to bring this to an end, we are not going to bring any of it to an end. It has to start here, and it has to end here. This is where slavery begins, and it's where it ends. I want to take a moment to thank current incumbent Congressman Alcee Hastings for being generous enough and patient enough to have introduced Ending Corporal Punishment in Schools Act, H.R. 160, into Congress for the third time on his part, and collectively between these two amazing Americans, it has gone in now 6 times. So I just want to thank them for caring about our children. How about you? Please help us start from square one and move on into Child Protective Services run by people who do not like children. If you believe calling CPS is the answer, it is not. And also, I would like to close out with this. I've already found friends who are willing to help start an organization. We have CPS, Child Protective Services. We have SCP, School Corporal Punishment, but we do not have PSC, and that would be Protective Services of Children. I'd like to start that program, and I'd like you to come on board with me. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, my name is Paula Flo, Executive Director of the Hitting Stops Here, and I look forward to hearing from you. God bless.